Alright guys, it's Wade, welcome back. Like I said, we did the box opening a little while ago on the AXN. So basically what we're going to do today is put it together real quick. This is one of the most simple aircraft to put together. So that's why we decided to do our first build video with this aircraft. I've built many aircraft just like this, to include the Nitroplanes Dynam Hawksky. I built all the ones with a similar body style. So basically we're going to put this together. A few notes before we begin. This one comes standard with a prop saver that's actually on the motor itself. We decided not to go with the prop saver, and so we put our own collet style prop adapter on there just to kind of make it a little bit, I don't know, it'd be just easier to get the prop on and off in my mind, and prop savers have never really worked for me. Another thing, I've already pre-inserted some of the carbon fiber rods. We're not going to actually glue the rods in because we want to make this easier for transport, so we kept them in. They're a pretty tight fit, so we're not going to really worry about gluing those in. So let's begin. The first thing you want to do with the actual surfaces, you want to make sure that you actually work these in a little bit. You want to give them some bend, give them a little bit of bend or whatnot. That way they're nice and worked in, because you don't want to overload your servos. I know a lot of these airplanes come with fairly stiff control surfaces. As you can see, I've worked this one in pretty well, so it's nice. It's good to go. You'll notice right here, right there, you'll actually see that there's the placement for your control rods and control surfaces. Alright, control horns. If you can see the control horns right here. Alright, you always want to face the flat part towards where the control rod is actually coming from, so that you have correct placement. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install all of my control horns on here. So basically what I'm going to do is stick the two prongs inside of the holes, which are already predetermined, so it's fairly easy. You can see how easy that slides right in there. I mean, it went right in, no problem. Basically it's going to push this through the other side of the control surface, and I'm going to dab some glue. One thing that I forgot to do is put a little bit of glue, foam safe glue. Put a little foam safe glue on each side of it. That way you got a nice little bind or adhesion to both sides. So I mean I really don't want to go overdo it because I don't want glue everywhere. So we'll push the glue down in there. We'll give it a nice little press. Hopefully the glue will bead out onto the sides, and then we'll just give it a quick activate. Alright, and what that's going to do is just set that glue on the outside so that we don't have any issues with the actual glue coming undone or smushing around while we're working on the other side. So we'll flip it over. You'll see right here, they came with the little clips that will just basically clip right on. All you got to do is just follow shapes. So we'll push that on there. You can hear it click on there. It's nice because it does click on there. But one of the things I always glue for is just to make sure that the actual clips will hold itself on there. Alright? So you can see it worked out perfect on the other side. We've got our control horns installed. Everything's going to work. And we'll leave it there and we'll basically just let it sit for a little bit. Another thing that I like to do personally is just dab a little bit of glue right on the control horn, or the control horn where it comes through the other side. Just to make sure that that's not going to come back off, because I never trust what these little plastic pieces, especially when it comes to my airplanes. So we've got that prepared. Move this out of the way. One thing I did notice is the servos are actually already pre-installed on the wings, so that's nice. That's going to get this build for you going a lot quicker. I will suggest putting some glue or Loctite on the little nuts. I don't know if we can zoom in here and see these little nuts that I'm talking about on the inside. Alright, next thing, we've got our vertical stabilizer. Alright, same deal. You've got your triangular indentation that's on there that enables you to line everything up properly. You've got your two holes on the other side. So what I'm going to do is, this time I'm actually just going to put the glue right through the holes on the opposite side. And I'll probably put glue on this side as well, just to make sure that we get a little bit on there. I like using glue just to make sure that we don't mess anything up. Now, go ahead and insert it. Like a glove. Small pieces. and we'll push them together. Alright, and you can see that's on there nice and firm. You're not going to have any issues. And that's that. So we'll put this away. Next, we'll worry about the wings. Like I said, the carbon fiber spar that comes with it, it literally just slides right in. Push it all the way. You can actually see how far it goes into the wing, so that's really good because it supports pretty much all of the wing, and you're not really going to worry about flexing on this particular model. Alright, this is the actual plug and fly version. So we had the ESCs already pre-installed. We've got the servo wires that are already installed for the servos. The only thing that you're going to have to do as the user is install the Y harness, and that's just as simple as basically putting it through the center hole that goes where the wing halves will meet, just dropping it down and kind of giving it a shake so it'll lead up to the cabin area, the cockpit area, so you can actually wire up your receiver. I think for this receiver we're actually just going to use a standard Spectrum or DSM receiver to bind with the DX8. Alright, so let's go ahead and put these wing halves together. First things first, figure out which one goes on which side, and you're just going to kind of barely line it up. Alright, really easy. Plug in your servo leads. Alright, you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Slide the carbon fiber rod in a little bit. Make sure you give yourself plenty of room to work with, and then plug in your servo leads. Alright. Now, I have noticed a lot of problems with this. Whenever you try to push the two wing halves together, what's going to happen is these servo wires, if you look down here you can see these servo wires, they're going to bunch up between the wing. So a modification that you might want to do will be to basically take and drill a hole straight through this wall. Right, let me move this ESC out of the way. But this wall, there's a flat hole. You can actually drill or use a hot screwdriver or something straight through into the wing area and move that Y harness out of the way. That way it's not going to get in the actual way of the wings where they're trying to lock together. I know that a lot of people have done that and that seems to work. But for today's build, we're just going to keep it in the standard configuration. Alright, let me go ahead and grab this wire, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically pull this a little tighter. Pull this tight, that way I can actually close my wing halves on. Alright, you'll notice that the carbon fiber rod part actually came out. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to have to glue that back in there. I don't know why that actually came out, but we'll have to glue that back in there to fix the problem. Otherwise the wing won't be in. So we'll be back as soon as we glue this in and fix the problem, and then we'll start reinstalling. Alright, so basically what you can see is the fix that we made while I was building it the last time. You saw that the panel came out of the bottom of the wing. So what I did was I just CA'd the panels back in. You can see right here, CA'd the panels back in. I cured the panels with CA, made sure everything was nice and dry, and then I laid some good packing tape and storage tape over top of it just to kind of give it a little bit of extra protection. You can see I did that for both wings. So let's continue on with where we left off. Basically, we're going to line up our wings. Alright, make sure you give yourself plenty of room. Line your wings up. Get your carbon spar in one side of it. Ready to go. Now, one thing I did notice is when I collapsed it, when I pushed the CA back in there, I collapsed it, it went a little bit tighter, believe it or not. So it's a better fit inside of it, a little bit less wiggle room than there previously was. So, line it up, just like we did beforehand. Plug in your servos. Now, go ahead and insert the carbon fiber rod onto this side. Plug in my servo lead on this side. Maybe I can plug it in if I went the right way. But we'll plug it in.
give this a little bit of a tug again, as you can see how it pulls those servo leads tighter. Get them out of the way a little bit more. Then we're going to pull it again just to keep it out of the way. And the wing halves should go right together. Just like so. Alright. Wing halves are together. Now, two options from this point. You can either you can see right here, you can either glue the wings together, glue them on the inside, or you can put magnets or tape on the top so that you can actually take the wings off if you need to transport it and you have some limitations on space when you transport it. I don't have that big of a vehicle, so I prefer to keep the wings off. And basically what I'll do is I'll just throw a piece of tape over the top of the fuselage to kind of strap the wings together, and I haven't had a problem with that yet. Okay, so that was the wings. Basically, with the wings, we're going to start working on installing the vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizer for the rear. But before we actually start gluing everything down, try to do a couple of things that'll make your job a little bit easier. If you can look on the inside, basically what you'll see right here is, and I'll come over to you to make it look a little bit easier, is you'll see inside your servos, alright? Inside here on your servos, there's a little Allen wrench right there. See if we can get a little bit closer. There's an Allen wrench that holds your control rods on both sides. Center your servos to the center position the best you can, and then basically loosen up those Allen wrench, or the little Allen screws in there, so that your control rods have a little bit of play. Alright, if you can see right here, see if I can do this without getting in your way, I have the ability to move this control rod. So that's going to enable me to get it inside of the actual control horn on the tail section a little bit easier. So go ahead and make sure you prep that before you start gluing everything down, because it's going to be a lot harder to get to the stuff once you start gluing everything down. So make sure. Alright, let's press on here real quick. Basically, since I've gotten it all done nice and loose, you can see I can move them freely. We're going to start by gluing the tail section in two. So this vertical stabilizer will go right through the top, and then this one is going to fit basically right around it. So I am going to have to put the bottom one on first, the actual horizontal stabilizer on first. Alright, make sure we glue it, and then this one will fit right on top, kind of holding it all together, and your tail section will fit. Alright, so let me go ahead and glue that down for you and show you and see if I have any issues with that while we do it. Alright, one thing you might want to consider doing is just kind of take some sandpaper and rough up the foam just a little bit. Even though it's foam glue, I like to rough it up just to give it a nice rough surface. Give it some glue. Alright, try not to get too much glue on there, because you don't want it, smushing around and everything. Now what I'm going to do is actually put some activator on the other side and go ahead and insert it on there. Now, one of the things to be careful for when you're doing this is that glue does not get down into the control horn. Let me show you here real quick, right on the back side. There's a control horn that comes out right there on the bottom. Try not to get your glue into that little hole right here, and if you do, just try to wipe it off so that your control horn will actually move. You can see I still got a little bit of movement on there. Okay, so make sure you do not get glue down in there when you're putting that tail section on. Otherwise, that could cause you a little bit of problems later on, alright? Just a little friendly word of advice for you. Some things that we've had problems with. Alright, now let me go ahead and activate that CA so we don't have our tail section moving around. Alright. Next, what I'm going to do is I have a nice little slot in there where I can put some glue down in there so I can insert the tail section, the vertical stabilizer. You can be fairly liberal with the glue on this section just because there's nothing really, no moving parts or anything that you can get this stuck into. I'm also going to put some glue on the sides of here, just a very little bit. Alright, And then I'm just going to insert it right down into the hole, right where it needs to go. And there we are. So, go ahead and give some of that excess glue that stuck out some activation. Let it activate, sit there for a while, and there's the tail section done and complete. The only thing we really have to do now is let this cure. Once this cures, then I'm going to hook the control rods, the actual control rods, up to the horns, and we'll be good to go. Plug in a receiver, plug in a battery, bind everything, do our function checks, and everything should be good to go after that.